Hey folks, Green Stuff Gav here. This week we're going to go through some more Inquisitor, this time a little example of how the turn sequence works, because it's slightly different to traditional war games. Now, I've set up just a quick board here with a couple of 28mm figures, just so we can give you an example of how the turn sequence works. Obviously, we've got the two characters we looked at last time, MarcoSkoll and Inquisitor Turn. And here they are in the midst of a game where they're both trying to locate and capture a data slate. Now, the big difference with the way Inquisitor works to traditional games is it's much more roleplay based. So where we discuss the actions aren't set as per se, you can turn around and declare what your character is doing. And then it's up to the GM and the players to decide how to use the rule set to supplement that action. So one of the big problems a lot of new players to Inquisitor come across is they know exactly what they want to do and they start rolling dice. Now, a quick rundown is the way Inquisitor works is you declare what you would like your character to do, then you roll your action dice to see how many things you can actually do. Now this becomes second nature when you've been playing a while, but a lot of new players tend to get it wrong, you know, excitedly roll dice and see exactly how much stuff they can do. Now this is where speed comes into its own. So obviously every character has a speed value, which is determined by your initiative. So obviously MarcoSkoll's initiative 66, which makes him speed 4, because it's divided by 20 plus 1. Whereas Inquisitor Turn is initiative 65. Now, the way this works in the turn sequence is at the start of the turn, anything that has to happen happens, but then characters activate in their speed order. So when you've got two characters who, for example, are speed 4 here, they go in initiative order. So your initiative 66 will act first, then 65, then 64, then 63, and so on and so forth. Now, speed also determines how many things a character can do. So obviously MarcoSkoll here is speed 4, which means he can potentially do up to 4 things a turn. There are various rules, and the Inquisitor game itself is not very set up to follow rules. You know, you adapt the rule set to fit the situation. But rules as written, the way it works is you have speed 4, so up to 4 actions. You declare up to 4 things you'd like the character to do. I'm going to move. So you can either say I'm going to move at a certain pace. So walking is 4 inches, an example. Or you can say I'm going to walk until he reaches the barrels. So however, what the distance of that is. So that would actually potentially be 2 walk actions. Because when we're playing at 28mm, we're using centimeters. So he's going to move. He declares, oh, I want to move. I'm going to draw a gun. I'm going to shoot. Then you roll the dice equal to your speed. So speed 4. And get them in shot. And each 4 plus allows you to do something. So here we have a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 6. So because you need 4 plus 2 actions, they don't count. And we have 2 actions, which was declared to be a move and a move. And there is a community ruling where you always get 1 action. So if you have a terrible dice roll, your character will still do 1 thing. So move in this instance. Again, there's skills like lightning reflexes that lets you reassign actions, and conversations and combat work very differently. But what I thought we'd do is we'd just have show you a couple of the rules and actions in action, so you can get an idea of how the game operates. So running on the speed value. So the Magos is initiative 66, whereas the Inquisitor is 65. So the Magos is going to activate first. Now his priority here is to get the data slate. So he is going to try moving up towards the data slate, and then he's going to try accessing it, which is there are various ways of doing it, but the way I tend to run it is it's a sagacity test. You know, data slates are easy, everyone can use them, or most people can use them. So we know the Magos is speed 4, he could potentially do up to 4 things. So he's going to move once, move twice, access data slate, and then try and move in behind cover, because obviously there's a very angry Inquisitor. So, rolling his action dice. So we only count the 4 pluses. So he gets 2 actions. Let's see, we saw that was 5. So coming back to the thing, he's declared he's going to move. He's going to move. Now, because he hasn't declared the speed, he's just going to move at a walking pace, which is 4 centimeters. Obviously, it's traditionally in inches, but because we're playing at the smaller scale, we're playing using centimeters. So he gets to move to there. Now the Inquisitor also wants these data slates, so being brash that she is, she's going to declare her actions. She's going to shoot at him once to try and distract him, and then she's going to charge into combat. Now the difference with this, with combat and... in fact she isn't, she's just going to move into cover here and shoot many times. And shoot as many times as she can. Because I want to demonstrate the shooting before we get into combat. Now we know she's speed 4, so she's going to take 1 evade action, and then as many shots as she can manage. So she is speed 4. So she gets 1 evade action and 1 shot. Now the evade action is 6 yards, so inches or centimeters depending on your scale that you're playing at. So she's going to move 6 to there, and then she's going to shoot this poor Magos. Now, shooting, the way shooting works in Inquisitor is slightly different to your traditional war game, your traditional GW game. So obviously every character has a ballistic skill. That's great. Now Inquisitor, you tend to want to roll underneath, so the lower the better. So 66 means normally she'd hit on a 65 or more. Looking at her bolt pistol stats, see it's a pistol type which affects a few different things. It's got a range band. Now every weapon, depending on the range band, has different modifiers to accuracy according to distance. So things, for example, heavy weapons are very inaccurate at short range, but get more accurate at mid range, 40 yards, centimeters, inches, as applicable. So measuring the distance between these two characters, we can see their let me try and move this so we can see. You can see they're 14 centimeters or yards, according to the way what scale you're at. So looking at a bolt pistol, at 14, it's -10. So we need to remember she's at -10, so that puts her at 56. And a lot of weapons also have an accuracy rating, but a bolt pistol doesn't. So she's looking at rolling 56 or under to hit. Now Inquisitor tends to use 2d10, a percentile dice and a normal dice. So for example, that's a 49. So we'd roll this, and she's rolled a 13, which is a hit on the poor Magos. Now, the there is a damage chart on every sheet, and this shows where you've hit the person you're shooting at. So now we've determined she's hit, we're going to roll to see which location she actually hits. Again, using a D100. 53, which we can see. Now, the arms have got the same value. So that's going to be the closest arm to her, which we can assume is going to be his right, because he's going to be reaching for the data slate. So she shot him in the right arm. Looking on the Magos's sheet, we can see he's got an armor value of 6 all over, because he's mostly mechadendrite. So, yeah, we've got the dodge skill. For himself out the pass of laser bullets, down to dodge 1 enemy shot a turn. If he can pass initiative, that reduces the ballistic skill. So his initiative 66. So if he can roll 66 or under, he can actually adjust her thing. Nope, he fails. So he doesn't dodge. Right. He has an armor value of 6, whereas a bolt pistol does 2d10 plus 4. So we've got 2d10, and we're going to add 4 to see how much damage it does. Wow. So 11 and 4 is 15. And we knock off the 6, which gives us 9 points of damage. Now, every character has a base injury value, which is a toughness by 10. So here's his 6. That means for every 6 points he takes, he fills in a box. So 9, so his injury total is 9 to start with. He's taken 9 points. And that is 2 boxes. On the quick reference sheet, on our location tables, which also has got the chart, this is all the different things that can happen to you when you get shot or hit. See, arm, light, which is 1 level, nothing happens. Heavy, must take a strength test or drop any object held. So he's taken a heavy. However, he isn't actually holding anything, because all of his weapons are inbuilt, as well as he didn't actually pick the data slate up. If he had picked the data slate up, he'd take a strength test to see if he can drop it, which he doesn't. Now, it's also got a knockback, which we won't go into, but basically, so when you go take a certain amount of damage, so he's taken 9 points, his knockback's 7, there's a chance he'll get knocked over and things like that. But for this example, we won't worry about that too much. And we also record that she has fired 1 shot on her character sheet, because every weapon also, so it's got damage, it's got a shots value, how many shots it can fire before it reloads, and how much it takes to reload. So it's 2 actions to reload if she's got any reloads, but she doesn't. A turn is as simple as that. Now at the end of the turn, there's all sorts of things that can happen. People that are bleeding can start bleeding. People that are on fire take more damage and things like that. Now, I was planning 1 turn, but we'll do a 2nd turn. So, having been shot, what will the Magos do? Now, his priority is to gain the data slate. So he's going to continue with his plan. He's going to grab the data slate, and then he's going to access the data slate and then hunker into cover. So, first action will be access the data slate. Then I think he'll charge, actually. We'll try getting him into combat. He'll charge as much as he can, so we can demonstrate some combat. So, up to 4 actions. Wow, he gets all 4 actions. So, his first action was declared to be accessing the data slate, which which I've decided is a sagacity test to download when he needs to. Obviously, he is a sagacity of 80 because he is a Mechanicus guy. 55, yeah. He accesses the data slate. Now, there might be scenario-specific things, but to do with what happens, it could just be a win-loss turn objective, or it could be gain victory points sort of thing. But regardless, so he's done that. Now he has declared a charge, or rather he's going to charge into her run and then whack her as many times. Our run is 6 centimeters, so it's going to be, I need to adjust that so you can see, take a measure. So for those, I need to move these crates. So it's going to be 2 actions for him to charge. So it's 1 action to access, 2 actions to charge, and that gives him an additional action. So, combat. Combat is very similar to shooting, the fact that you're going to roll your weapon skill and then see if you can actually hit. There are a plethora of modifiers. So when you charge, counts at 6 yards, must stop within an inch, a yard. So it was 2 actions to charge. So these are the things they can do in combat, but here's the modifier. So now his weapons are all inbuilt, so he doesn't have to charge. If you draw your weapons while you're charging, you don't get this. But so he's going to get +10 because he's charged. The weapon reach also, so every weapon has a reach value. So he's going to go with his power claws, try and get that hit on, which is reach 1. She has a power axe, which is reach 2. So he's actually at -10 because his reach isn't as long as hers. So his +10 for charging is cancelled out by the reach penalties. Now, there's a few other bits and pieces, but none of it really matters. So, with his weapon skill 75, he's going to try and roll under 75 to see if he can hit. 91, he misses, resoundingly. However, he did have an additional action, so he will also swing again. 61. So, that only just hits. Because 75. Now his +10 is -10. Let's cancel that. No, he's actually at -10 because he didn't get the charge on the second action. So he's actually looking for 65. He rolled a 61, so that hits. When you are in combat, you have 2 options. You can either try parrying, so to stop the blow, or you can try dodging, moving aside. So modifiers. So you first, if she's parrying, she parries at full weapon skill minus the weapon's parry penalty. Then at each, you have your weapon skill. So your second parry is at half weapon skill, third at 25%. Dodge +20. I didn't realise that. So, but dodge also follows under the successful. So you dodge your first at weapon skill, your second at half, your third at quarter, and so on. So she's going to try parrying, which is her weapon skill 71, -20, 70, 60, 51 or less to try and parry this. She rolled an 8. Now, 5 or less is critical. But, yeah, so she's actually, because she's got less than 10% of what she needed, no, not quite, 60, so it would have been 6 for a counterattack. But she still manages to parry, which means the hit has been successfully blocked. Now, if the Magos had hit her, he would then roll location, but you can add 20 because you're in combat, which is on the reference sheet. And then you'd roll your location, work out the armor. She does actually have any armor, but she's got a conversion field, which gives her 2d6 protection, and so on. And then you resolve the damage like you would shooting. So, he missed with his first attack and she parried his second. Now, because they're in combat, you don't have to declare any actions. You just roll your action dice to see how many things you can do. So, she's got 2 failures, 2 successes. So with those 2 successes, she's going to beat him in the face with a power axe. So, her weapon skill is 71. She's got a higher reach, so she actually gets plus 10 to this. So 81 or less to strike. 87, she misses. So she'll try it again. So the same, there's no modifiers because again, she got a longer reach, so 81 or less. 56. So she hits him with her second swing. Now, the Magos has the same options as she has. You can try parrying, which is very difficult, or he can try dodging. So he's going to try dodging, which is a straight weapon skill. So he's looking for 75 or less to dodge, which he failed resoundingly. So we go back to the Inquisitor, and she's hit. So we work out where she hits is the 34, or it can go up to 54, which 34 is going to be in the groin, or 54 is going to be the arms again. So she's going to hit him square in the groin. Now, a power axe does 3d10 plus 4. So I'm going to roll 3d10, which is 10, 16, 19, 23. 23 damage to his groin, which is armor 6. So take that 23 minus 6 is 17 damage, which with his base injury being 6, so 6, 12, 18, so 3 levels to the groin, which is light, medium, serious. And his injury total goes up by 17, so 26. That's why I write with dry white markers on these things, which is resoundingly painful. An axe to the groin always hurts. So looking at the groin, light falls prone, stunned for D3 turns, and D3 to his injury total, and he's bleeding. Wow. So he's knocked prone. He's stunned for 1 turn, so he misses his next turn. He adds D3 to his injury total, adds an extra 1, goes up to 27. That's pretty brutal. So his next activation, he doesn't get to do anything at all. But the end of... and he's bleeding. But at the end of the turn, there's a chance for him to recover health and lose health. Now, that was just a quick example of how the various rules work. Obviously, there's a lot of things like psychic powers and lots of abilities that can affect the game that obviously haven't gone into. But that's just a quick example. The key thing with Inquisitor is you need to remember to declare your actions before you roll, and that's where most people go wrong. So, we will leave the Inquisitor and the highly in pain Magus, and I will say thank you for watching and have fun.